Here. Welcome to today's call, Thursday, May the 25th. As always, super excited to be here with all of you. I was guided today to go back into the archives of my journals. So I have my journals from, I think 2017 is the ones that I've kept. And so I'm often guided to go back and look at and see where my mindset was, some of the things maybe that I still need to work through, obstacles and challenges, or it's not even to go back and compare. So it's not about a comparison, but you'll utilizing the opportunity to go, where was I then and where am I now? And see the areas of obstacles and challenges that I still may be going through, the layers. Because for me, what I've discovered and uncovered is that, my paradigms, my limiting beliefs, my empowering beliefs, it's just layer after layer after layer after layer. And so it's been a journey, it's been progress. And sometimes I'll even notice that I've regressed. And so I think that's important, for us to look at. Are there areas in our life that we're regressing? No judgment, no guilt, no shame. But what are these sticking points? Like, what's keeping us stuck? And I was reminded of an exercise. We've kind of talked about this in the past, but this is kind of be more of a, maybe even making space for all of you today, rather than going back and doing homework, giving you a few minutes today, as long as you're not driving. Well, I guess if you're driving, you can still think about it, but don't be writing stuff down when you're driving. Please be safe. And one of those pieces is when we look at, we have a desire. So we are someplace in our life. So, if it's just like X marks the spot, here I am, and here's where I want to go, right? And even if you do that in a piece of paper, right, write the word here on the left-hand side of a piece of paper, if you have a paper close to you. And if you don't, if you want to go grab one. And then on the right-hand side of a piece of paper, you put your desire, where you want to go. So X marks the spot of where we are, and, X or Y is where we want to be. And there's a gap. There's a gap between the two places. And whenever there's a gap, our mind tells us, our brain tells us we need to take action. We need to do something different. Create a new habit, let go of an old habit. We need to, show up differently, act differently. But really what's necessary is we need to think differently. We need to look at things completely different. And so if you think about where you are right now, and pick one area of your life right now where you are. So don't look at it from a whole, like all portions of your life, but just pick one thing of where you are and where you want to be. And what I want you to do, and this maybe actually I'm guided to do this as an exercise and spend some time in this exercise. So I want you to think about where you are right now and think about 3 or 4 points of your experience. So if it's like, for me, I would be like health and wellness. What am I experiencing in my health and wellness right now? And just take 3 or 4 points and think about where you are. And then below that, let's look at the 2 pieces below that. I want you to think about, because this might take a few more minutes, what beliefs do you currently have that are allowing you to experience that? So where are you right now, and what beliefs do you currently have that are allowing you to experience that? So I'm going to give you, and it's like 8:07 my time. I'm going to give us 3 minutes, and I'm going to check in. While you do that, I'm going to go blow my nose, and I'll be right back. It does. One more minute. Excuse me. So I'll give a simple example about business. So if we're experiencing challenges in business, we might have a belief that, right, business is hard, right? That getting clients is hard. That's what I mean. Where you are right now, what are your experiences and what are the beliefs around those experiences? Might even just be thoughts around it. So for example, when I decide to bodybuild, where I was and where I wanted to be was quite different. And what I realized was that I believed that in order to that there's these stopping points, I guess. So that's another question to ask. Let me back this up again. What do you believe also are your stopping points between where you are and where you want to be? So there's this gap, right? So for example, when I was bodybuilding, I believed I didn't have time, or when I wanted to bodybuild, I didn't have time, right? I needed, quote unquote, 8 hours of sleep. And I believed I was a night owl. And so in order for me to do the things that I wanted to do, I would be required to wake up earlier. And I believed I couldn't wake up earlier. So that would be a stopping point. Is this making sense so far? Okay. And so you take a look at that left side. It's like, here's where I'm at. Here's the beliefs that I have around that. Here's the thoughts that I have around that. And then where you want to be is someplace different. So what beliefs will you need to have around that? What thoughts will you need to have around that? And we're just going to spend a couple minutes. More than likely, you're going to go back to this later on today or later on this week if you can. And if your brain is preventing you from coming up with an answer, if you're going to this, I don't know, that's okay that you don't know. And so just ask yourself, well, what if I did know? You're bypassing the part of you that wants to keep you safe and secure. Sherry, I love that. Sherry wrote in the chat, what am I pretending not to know? That's beautiful. I've not heard that one before, Sherry. Thank you. I appreciate that. Right. So we've got this where you are right now, where you want to be, right? The beliefs that you have right now that are keeping you in place, right? The thoughts that you have that are keeping you in place. Like for me, it was like, well, I'm not a morning person. So, and then where you want to be and the beliefs around the belief that you would need to have or beliefs you need to have in order for you to be that person. And you'll notice a gap between the two. And again, it could be beliefs or thoughts. So for example, when I decided to bodybuild, it was like, here's all the reasons, all the excuses that I had around bodybuilding. One was, well, I'm going to need 8 hours of sleep. And so that would require me exercising more. So I've got to fit the time in. So I don't have the time. I have a thyroid challenge. I don't like to get up in the morning, right? I'm a slow getter upper. I don't have time, to work out at the times that would be required. And at that time, it was when I started to bodybuild, my former husband was home for a week and gone for a week. So we had a different schedule when he was home. I had a different schedule when he was home. So it would also require me to stick with my routine, even when he was home. And I had two routines. I had a when he was home routine and when he was away routine. So I knew that for me, it was like, I had this routine. I'm gonna have to stick with that. I knew I would have to change beliefs around food and dieting, right? I don't like to diet. I don't like to feel restricted. Like there's like a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of like excuses or reasons, right? Between the two. So I just want to make sure that we're on track together. So it's not that we're off track, but this is an important exercise. And so I'm just looking for confirmation that this makes sense, number one, to everyone. So the thumbs up or put it in the chat for those of you who are off camera. And number two, that you see the gaps in where you are and where you want to be. And you see the gaps in either attitude, behavior, beliefs, or thoughts between where you are and where you want to be. So I would love some feedback, just as I said, just to make sure that we're on track. Okay, Sherry, you see some gaps? Excellent. And do you see any gaps? Okay, perfect. Thank you, because the two of you are good. Everybody else, could you put if you can, some of you might be on the phone, so you can't, or driving. Don't do this if you're driving. Stay safe, please, and thank you. Okay, so Diane, you see some gaps. Okay, excellent. So in the gap, the difference is in the beliefs. And our beliefs will lead to thoughts and emotions, right, which will lead to action or inaction, which leads to results, which solidify our beliefs. So what we need to change is, yes, the action needs to change, but your beliefs need to change, right? And so again, I'm just going to use the bodybuilding one. So I realized that, so at that time, when I was bodybuilding, I was getting up at between 7:30 and 8 o'clock in the morning. And I saw that I was going to need to create more space and time. The only way for me to create more space and time that I believed at that time was to get up earlier. But I had all of these things around getting up early. I need 8 hours sleep. I need this, I need that. I can't go to bed early. Those are, like I said, the excuses and reasons. And so then I realized I had to change, not the excuses and reasons would be changed after, but I need to change my thoughts around how much sleep I need, a belief about what, like, do I really need 8 hours sleep? Can I still, like, bodybuild with a thyroid condition? Like all of these pieces. And so then I looked at, thank you, Anne, for that, fear of success. Yeah. So then I looked at, okay, what is this gap? What beliefs do I need to create in order to be the woman, the person who wanted to achieve this desire? And so I started to really unpack all of the beliefs. Now, when we think of beliefs, we think of things like, I'm not good enough, or, things like that, which is a belief, but attached to a belief is the thought. So it might come as a thought first, right? So one of the thoughts I have, I don't like to get up early in the morning. I'm an evening person. I'm a night owl. So I knew that the thought that I had to change was that I was a morning person. And so that is attached to a belief, but the belief didn't come till later. And the belief really was that I didn't have what it takes. So the thought was, I'm not a morning person. And the belief was, I don't have what it takes. I'm not committed enough. Right. And so I made the decision to be a morning person. And so the next day, I got up at, I think it was like, I think I staged it a little bit. So I used to be up like 8, 7:30, 8:30. I think I just said, okay, I'm going to get up at 6:30. And so I set the alarm for 6:30. And then I did that for, I think, 21 days. And then I set my alarm for 6. And then I did that for 21 days. And then I set my alarm for 5:30 in the morning. And I became a morning person. Just simply by making 2 changes. There's that change, the action, the belief. So I started creating I am statements. I am a morning person. I'm so happy and grateful now that I can be up in the morning and do all the things that I need to do to prep for my day. I'm so happy and grateful now that it's easy for me to wake up. Now I'm a slow waker upper still, and so I'm not a, jump out of the bed and get up. I understand I understand do I understand? I want to make sure I provide the right verbiage here. I hear from many people who suggest that setting an alarm or putting an alarm isn't a good way to perform, right? So I just think of Mel Robbins and her 3-2-1, right? The alarm goes off and you do 3-2-1 and you get up. And because it's, then she has a whole, I'm going to go into the reasons. But I also know for myself that I like to sit in bed and dream and imagine and visualize my day and think about my day. So I hit the snooze, not because I fall asleep, because I don't fall asleep, but I go into a meditative state and I start prepping for my day differently. So this is what we talk about when we can hear something and that makes sense, like what Mel Robbins says, makes perfect sense to me. And I don't want to go back into sleep because I don't want to go into that REM, right? I don't want to go into that that part of it. But I really like, Rob, I really like my cuddle time with him. And so if I'm up at certain times of the day,
you called me?
Then I didn't call you, baby. Thank you.
I heard you calling me.
I'm just talking about you again.
Sure you didn't call me?
I'm sure I didn't call you. And so what I end up doing is I will also set the alarm so I can have my cuddle time with him, right? So my alarm goes off, I snuggle with him, I think about my day, I do my visualization exercises. So I've adapted a few things in my day. And I work and do things that resonate with me. So even though I understand the theory of what someone says, I've adapted it. I'll go back to this morning piece. I became a morning person, right? So I've been getting up. I was a morning person when I had the curves. I stopped doing that. I was bodybuilding, became a morning person again. And then years ago, actually, even before I started doing this class, I started waking up. And then over the years, of the last couple of years, what I noticed with my body was my body requires more sleep. It's a thought and a belief. And I'm aware of that. Requires more sleep in the wintertime, right? And so in the wintertime, I just know that I'm not going to be up at 5:30 in the morning because the sun's not up, but I'll be up at 6:30. But in the summertime, like I'll just be getting up early and earlier, right? So whenever the sun rises from now until whatever, right, I'll be up. So sometimes I'm up at 3 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I don't panic. I have no story around it. I'm sharing that with you because we have stories, right? I need more sleep. I can't get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my goodness, what's wrong? I didn't sleep well last night. Like all of the things that when we don't sleep, we get stressed out about. So let's go back to this, where you are right now and where you want to be. There's beliefs and thoughts and emotions of where you are. There's beliefs and thoughts and emotions of where you want to be. And there is a gap between the two. And so the work we have to do, the journey, is looking at the gap of the thoughts and emotions and beliefs and decide who you need to be in order for you to fill or fulfill the gap. Who is it that you need to be? And then you can go into what is it that you need to do. But the challenge is, as doers, as human beings, we're doers. So we immediately go into, oh yeah, right, I need to get up early in the morning. Okay, well, that's just great to do that. But if you believe, like I did, that I needed 8 hours sleep, or that something was wrong if I wasn't, if I woke up at the middle of the night and I couldn't fall back asleep, I must be worrying about something. I must have doubt. I must have this. And I had all of these thoughts and emotions. It prevented me from showing up who I truly am. And it prevents you from showing up who truly you are. Now, the challenge is that there will be required changes in your attitude, changes in your beliefs, and then changes in your behavior. And so then the question is, are you willing to, right? Are you willing to, and are you open to changing the beliefs around this, or changing the thoughts? Because I'll go back to this. It'll start with a thought. The belief will come next. It'll start with a thought. Are you willing to change the thought? And then, are you willing to change the action? Because there will be, you'll be required to show up differently. You'll be required to let go of some stuff, right? You'll be required to do different things at different times. Right? In order to have transformation, one of the things that needs to be required is we need to stop identifying with the person that we are right now. And this is scary for your ego. Your ego is really super comfortable with how you identify with yourself right now. So it wants to keep you in the place that you're in. There's nothing wrong with the place that you're in. There's nothing wrong. You're not fucked up. It's not bad. When your ego, right, is in this safety and security piece, wants you to stay where you are. And so you're identifying with this person that you are. But what I'm asking you to do is to change who you identify with, or change who, I'll have to use that word, who you identify with. Okay. And so in order for that to happen, ask yourself, who do I need to be? Right? So I knew that I was going to need to be courageous, not do courage, like, because I'm a doer. So I was like, oh, I just need to do these following things. I just need to eat healthier. I just need to take supplements. I just need to hydrate more. I just need to exercise more. Oh, if it's that fucking easy, I would have done it before. Right? So it was like, obviously there's a gap and something was stopping me. And so what was stopping me? Around the bodybuilding piece, it was like, I also had this thoughts of, whenever I get really in shape, I fight with my partners, right? Whenever I feel sexier, this XYZ happens, right? There was also, I uncovered that my dad was still influencing my behavior, because my dad thinks that bodybuilding is gross. And there was that little girl in me that wanted approval from her daddy. And I was, 44 when I started bodybuilding. And so there was that piece around it. So it was a thought, it was an emotion, it was a belief. So the exercise for today is, right, is to look at the gaps in the beliefs and the emotions and the thoughts, and really clearly understand what those are. And then think about the new belief that will be required, the new thoughts, the new emotions. And then there's going to be what's called your stopping points. What stops you? What could stop you? What stopped you in the past, right? From you to make changes. And it might be something like something really that doesn't feel connected, right? So I know whenever I'm going to up level, what stops me is I'll have some sort of crazy argument with somebody important in my life, right? And then I'm frozen for a couple of days, right? Because I'm trying to work through and process through the argument, right? What can stop me is somebody in my life or myself has some sort of health challenge, right? So that stops me. So in true transparency with all of you, this year has been one of serious up-leveling in my life. So it's no surprise to me that my health took a downturn about 3 months ago, because I decided that last year, I think I shared with all of you, right, that I wanted to build $1 million company. I hadn't wanted to build $1 million company for a very long time. The moment that I decided to build $1 million company, my health started to go like this. I fucking laughed. Of course, I decided to do this, and I'm like, and so it was like, I laughed last week. It's like, I can barely walk. I can barely move. And so I know that's a stopping point for me. So I didn't give it any meaning, right? Other than, well, isn't that interesting that I created this health challenge, right? And so it's like, well, the health challenge won't stop me, right? But I'm in awareness of, I'm breaking through. So these are my breakthrough points: arguing with Rob, right? Or my parents, or someone else that I love, right? Feeling left out, that's another stopping point. My health, getting sick, or somebody in my life getting sick, some sort of health challenge with somebody they love. Those are the things that usually stop. And I can look back in my life, and over again, every time I decide to up level, there was either an argument with my former husband, Darcy, or my mom was in the hospital. In December, my mom was in the hospital with some sort of strange nosebleed. They couldn't get her nose to stop bleeding. So they hospitalized her, right, because she has a heart condition. And so I can look over and over again in my life, just like you can. Every time you go to up level, what's the thing that stops you? Right? And it's insidious as fuck. And so we can lament on it and go, I had, last week I felt really sorry for myself. It was, oh, woe is me. And I realized, oh yeah, right. I have an opportunity to up level. So I can focus on what I don't want, which is my ill health, or I can focus on what I do want, which is this up leveling, right? And it's what we resist persists. If I resist ill health, my ill health persists. If I focus on, I can't move, then I will continue to create, I can't move. But if I focus on, what do I truly desire? I truly desire a really healthy body. A healthy body is required for my healthy business. And so it hasn't like, it's not a surprise to me that I'm being asked to focus on my health. And why? Because I made the statement, I want to create $1 million business. And so Divine's like, excellent. Here's all the shit that's in your way, Ranchelle. Your unhealthy body is in the way. You didn't take care of your body. You were like, I'll get to that tomorrow. I'll get to that tomorrow. I'll exercise tomorrow. I'll do that lymphatic drainage thing tomorrow, right? I'll worry about my thyroid's doing okay. I'll worry about that tomorrow. And so this is it's not lessons for me. I don't look at it as lessons, and I don't look at it as punishment. It's just like the universe is saying, fantastic. This is what you want. Well, here's what's in your way. Beautiful. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. So my health is the gap. And so you wouldn't think that in business that health would be a gap, but it is. So that was the last point I wanted to show you, is that when you do this for all areas of your life, you're going to see a common thread. And so it's to work on that common belief, those common thoughts, the common emotions, the common thread. My common emotion, my common thought is, I'll get to that tomorrow. It's a nice way of saying procrastinate. I'll get to that tomorrow, right? And so what if there is no tomorrow? why would I not get to that today? And so what I have to work on for me in all transparency is there's tons of tasks to do, and maybe or maybe not hours in the day to do it. So something has to shift. And the shift that had to change was my control. It was, I needed to ask for help. I needed to say to people, you know what, I actually want this and I need some help in doing these things. I'm not sure how to do this, right? Can you please help me with this? Could you please do this for me? I had to ask people to do shit for me. Like, that was like the toughest thing. That's my stopping point, asking people for help. Right? Feeling like I need to do it on my own. That's a belief. There's no one there for me, which is bullshit. I have a great tribe of people, right? And so it can take some digging, but I'm going to really encourage you to spend some time today or the next possible moment that you have, because I want to create any pressure in your life, to take a look at this and take a look at the thread of commonality in all areas of your life. Because how we do one thing truly is how we do everything. So although I didn't procrastinate necessarily in my business endeavors, although there were some things that I was procrastinating on because I didn't know how to do it and I was like overwhelmed, that's when I go into procrastination. But I procrastinated on taking care of my body. So I transferred. So this is what happens. We transfer the thought, the emotions, the belief to another area of our life. So I transferred the procrastination away from my business. That became the focus, to sacrifice, right? And not in the universal law way of sacrifice, but to sacrifice my health because I would get to it to tomorrow. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, no, don't be doing that anymore, right? So we have this opportunity. You have the same opportunity with the two gaps. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay. Last but not least, make the decision of what excuses you'll not tolerate. Actually, there's two pieces. Make a decision of what excuses you won't tolerate any longer. And this is where our conscious thoughts, our brain, our intellect comes into play. Because when you make the commitment and make the decision, you need to make the commitment and make the decision. Otherwise, you're identifying with the woman, the person that you no longer want to be. And that's when we get stuck. That's what keeps us stuck. So we need to identify differently. And so it's about progress and not perfection, which is the last thing I wanted to share with all of you, is be compassionate with yourself, right? When you see that there was an error in thinking, just go next. Don't go into guilt. Don't go into shame. Don't go into self-judgment. Just like literally think, okay, next, I have this next moment that I can show up differently. I can behave differently. I can think differently. I can take inspired action. All right. That's what I wanted to share with you, or what we were guided to share with all of you today. I hope it's exciting when you start to see the difference. It's really exciting because your mind, your higher self as well, is allowing you to see the difference. And if you can't, it's okay. It took me many times to do this exercise, right? Before I really start to see the common thread. And it's so much fun when you see how you're holding yourself back, right? It's so much fun. It's just like, and it can quickly transform, right? 10 days ago, I could barely walk. And today I walked up and down the stairs with hardly any pain. Like I'm at maybe a 0.5 and I've been at a 10 for months now. And so it was like, this is so cool, right? It's just one of those, it can transform just like that. And we're meant to, because we're miracles. We're miracles, 100%. All right, everyone, well, I love you so much. Have a great day. Enjoy the day, and connect. If you're not doing well, connect with me, please, and thank you. Okay. All right. Bye.